Hey, it's Walter Van Dusen at Cine Gear Expo LA at the Warner Brothers studio. One of the interviews I've been looking forward to is at the Canon booth. So it's exciting for me to be in the booth with Matt to talk about the new C400, correct?
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of details, so I'm just going to pass it off to Matt, and then I'm going to come over here and do some B-roll as Matt's talking about the camera. He's going to go do an overview. He's got some questions already asked to him, so all the topics that you heard that people want to hear more about.
Absolutely.
And if we can touch on some of the new lenses, which is exciting too, because you actually have cinema lenses, autofocus cinema lenses in the Canon world, right?
Yes, we do.
That's pretty phenomenal.
Yes.
So Matt's going to right there.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to be here talking to you today here at the beautiful Cine Gear about our EOS C400 camera. This camera was just announced 2 days ago. We had our big reveal. This is a full frame 6K back illuminated stacked CMOS sensor. So basically what that's doing is the back illuminated stacked CMOS sensor means it's a very, very fast readout. It's one of the fastest sensors we've ever had. So it'll play very well with LED walls, LED volumes, that sort of thing. It also means that our autofocus coverage now can be 100% across the sensor. So there's no more of the 80% coverage like before. And so it's 6K RAW in full frame, and it's also capable of 4.3K RAW in Super 35. And if you go to our XF-AVC codecs, then you can do 4K in either Super 35 or full frame. The autofocus on this camera is next generation for us. So it's our dual pixel autofocus, but it's dual pixel CMOS AF2. And now you can put it into object detect, and you can choose whether you want people or animal mode. And it'll detect people from the back of their heads now. You no longer need the face to detect for the autofocus. So really stunning autofocus. One of the other things that it has going for it is we now offer triple base ISO. So if you're in our Canon Log 2 or Canon Log 3, you can choose base ISOs of 800, 3200, or 12,800. And those are going to offer different signal to noise ratios, but every time you reset to a different base ISO, you're getting the full dynamic range around that base. So you're moving the dynamic range up the ISO scale as you reset each new different base ISO. And there's actually a fourth ISO mode, base ISO mode for auto. So if you want to leave it to the camera, it can shift you into those different base ISOs as you change the camera's internal ISO. So again, 6K RAW up to 60 frames per second. It can do 4K RAW at 120 frames per second. And for that 120 frames per second, then it's going to crop in and give you a true 4K instead of the 4.3K RAW I mentioned earlier. If you go to XF-AVC, then it's offering 4K XF-AVC 10-bit 422 up to 120 frames per second. And that's in Super 35 or full frame. And then you could do a 2K Super 16 up to 180 frames per second. But what's really exciting about this camera too is how much value it squeezes into very small real estate. The camera looks very similar in its body shape to our C500 Mark II and our C300 Mark III, but it's really quite a bit smaller. And as a result, there's some changes that we've made. The media is CF Express, one slot for CF Express card that handles all the RAW recording. And then there's an SD slot that can handle all of the other codecs this camera offers, including XF-AVCS and XF-HEVCS, which are new lower data rate codecs that we've never offered before. So you have a lot of options that will fit whatever your workflow and your data requirements are on this camera. The other thing great about this is it packs in pretty much all of the features that you previously had to purchase expansion units to fulfill. So it's very broadcast friendly right out of the box without having to buy an expansion unit. We've got a DIN connector, which is like a little baby BNC that allows you to do Genlock, return video from the switcher, or sync, and you choose which function it is inside your camera menu. There's also a DIN connector for your time code in and out, and that's how you're going to sync multiple cameras up with their time code. You've got mini XLRs instead of full-size XLRs. And again, that's to save on the real estate. That's something that we brought over from the C70, those mini XLRs. And then you've got your 3G SDI, your 12G SDI, you've got HDMI, all the normal connectors. You also have Wi-Fi now built right into the camera. So you can use any of the functions. You can go out to multi-camera control apps, anything like that through the Wi-Fi built straight into the camera. And you've got an Ethernet port as well built right into the camera. If you want to put this into a multi-camera show and go into our IP1000 or IP100 camera controller. So all of that's been built into the camera now that you previously had to get separate expansion units for. We also have third parties that manufacture something like this. This camera is outfitted with a V-mount adapter that you just screw onto the back of the camera. And this is how you're going to get any additional accessory power out to another monitor or something that you want to power that way. You can actually use the Canon battery simultaneous with this V-mount so that you can hot swap the V-mount battery without taking that off. One other thing we offer right in the front of the camera now is a lens port. It's a 12-pin Hiroshi port to power up any zoom lenses, so you don't have to stretch the cable around to the back of our expansion units anymore. So that's right where you're going to need it, right at the tip of the camera there. The handle system and the LCD system are all brand new. It's a more robust handle with 3 points of connection that are just thumb tightened. And then the actual viewfinder system is a different design with more flexibility to it. And again, it's a very bright LCD screen that is touch controlled as well. We brought that up from the R5C and the C70. So you can touch focus, touch through the menus, any way you want to play that. Another great feature that I'm really excited about on this camera is our auto clear scan mode. So not only do we offer all of the clear scan frequencies to try to dial out any interference while shooting LED walls, LED volumes, or monitors that the camera might not be in sync with, we now have auto clear scan, which will detect the cadence of a monitor or LED wall and will sync the camera up to it. And that's something that we brought up from the R3, actually. So that's a nice quick overview of the camera. Walter was also talking about some of our cinema lenses. This right here is one of our cinema zoom lenses. It's one of our flex zoom series. So this one is a full frame flex zoom. It's a T24, which is very fast for a zoom lens and covers 45 to 135. There's also 20 to 50 that covers full frame T24. And then we have two that cover just Super 35. One's a 31.5 to 95 and one's a 14 to 35. And those are both T17s, which are just blazingly fast for zoom lenses. They really behave like a whole set of primes hanging on your camera. So you don't have to just, if you're in a virtual production set, you don't have to keep swapping primes. You have zoom lenses hanging on your camera all day long that are behaving like primes. Also here at the show, we're announcing the 17 to 120 RF zoom lens that has a brand new servo unit that has faster zoom and iris control than ever before. It has the RF mount on it. It's native RF mount, which this camera is as well. This is a native RF mount camera. And that 17 to 120 with the RF mount has a focused breathing correction built into the servo, so that as you're changing your focus, your field of view isn't going to change noticeably, which is something that any cinematographer or shooter wants out of their lenses. And apart from all that, we have a series of hybrid lenses as well that come out of the stills department, but really work well for cinema or stills. We had the 24 to 105 f2.8 previously come out. That's a hybrid. It has an independent iris ring, very minimal focus breathing. And now at Cine Gear, we've announced the 35 millimeter prime hybrid that has a voice coil motor system that eliminates focus breathing and makes the autofocus much faster as well. And that is a 35 millimeter f1.4, and it's very exciting. It's going to be the first in a series of hybrid primes that we'll be coming out with. So that's the overview. That is our new C400 native RF mount, full frame 6K, back illuminated stacked CMOS sensor camera. We've got our 17-120 RF mount with the new servo. And we've got our 35mm f1.4, that's kind of a hybrid lens. And I hope you're all as excited about it as I am. I can't wait to see what all you creative people are going to do with these tools.